Have you invested an immense amount of time, money, and effort into self-development or self-improvement, but you feel like you're just spinning your wheels and not getting anywhere? The truth is, self-development might not be what you need in order to obtain your goals. Sometimes we think that the answer is maybe changing our job or changing our relationship status. Maybe it's moving to another state. Maybe it's getting a whole new wardrobe. We keep trying to change all these external things, but we're not seeing any long-lasting change. But it's about changing what's within yourself. As a certified breathwork and meditation coach, breathwork and regulating my nervous system was the key for me to actually start to see long-lasting change within my life. Here's what happens when you are experiencing life with a regulated nervous system. Everything has more ease and peace around it. Your relationships will feel more peaceful and enjoyable. Your financial situation will rise because you're working with money in a state of, again, abundance versus scarcity. Your health is going to benefit. You're going to have more clarity of thought, more presence throughout the day, and your creativity and intuition will skyrocket. You'll start to be on a magic carpet ride versus feeling like you're going upstream. A majority of us in society are operating from a place of survival. We're operating from a place of instinct. When we are operating from this place, our brain waves are actually in a state where they're constantly looking for what may be a threat, what may be of danger. So we're looking for what is the worst case scenario that could happen to me right now. When we are in that space of feeling like we may be in danger and we're trying to constantly find safety, it's going to be extremely hard for you to start to go after what you want in your life, because you're not looking at what could the best case scenario be, what is the highest outcome of this situation, but you're looking for what is the immediate threat and what could go wrong. That's a limiting belief system. What's happened within our society is we are in a hustle culture. We've talked about it a few times within past videos, but our nervous systems in today's culture are actually more set in a sympathetic nervous system state. We're constantly, subtly activating our stress response. You may notice even as you're watching this video, check in with your breathing. A high percentage of people are constantly shallow breathing throughout their whole entire day, meaning they're only using a small capacity of their lungs. And when we're in that state where our body is always in this stress response, we're always kind of on guard, we're in a combative state. When we're in a space, though, where we're starting to regulate our nervous system and starting to bring balance between the parasympathetic nervous system, our rest, our calm, our intuition, then is where we come from a space of abundance versus lack. We come from a space of hopefulness versus fear. And when you're in those spaces of expansiveness, you tend to go after bigger things in your life, take risks on your dreams versus coming from a space of lack, from a space of hiding, and ultimately from a space of blocking anything good coming into your life. Now, this is not about ignoring your sympathetic nervous system, right? Your stress response, but this is about actually exercising your stress response in controlled environments so that your body gets to feel what it feels like to go into that stress response, but in a controlled manner. Let me give you an example. One way that you can work with your stress response within your sympathetic nervous system is through HIIT training. HIIT training is high intensity interval training. For example, it could look like hill sprints. It could look like breath holds underwater. You're wanting to take your body to a space where you start to feel a little uncomfortable, right? You find that threshold. For example, with hill sprints. You find a hill in your local neighborhood, and I want you to find a hill where 3/4 of the way up, you want to freaking give up. And right when you're wanting to give up, you go a few seconds longer. And what happens when you're pushing your body into these spaces in, again, controlled environments of finding your threshold and going a few seconds longer is you're actually teaching your body how to handle stress, so that you don't go into these fight, flight, or freeze modes when you have stressful situations come into your life in unexpected times. So that's one way that you can start to work with your stress response, and so that you can handle situations from a state of clarity versus a state of panic. Now, working with the parasympathetic nervous system, right? This is where, again, we're going to find our calm, we're going to find our relaxation, and ultimately our intuition, our inner compass. I'm going to give you a few simple practices that you can start to implement into your life that is going to slowly, over time, regulate the nervous system. So, of course, for the first practice, I am going to suggest daily breath work and meditation. I mean, it is such a no-brainer for me, and it is free medicine for the body. Breath work actually goes in and it starts to clear out the energetic body. You can think about it like, you would brush your teeth. Well, breath work actually works with your energetic hygiene. You brush your teeth every day to take care of your teeth, and breath work goes in and starts to clear out things that can get blocked within the body and can start to manifest as mental health issues or actually dis-ease in the body. So a simple 10-minute breathwork practice that you can find on either YouTube, Insight Timer, is a beautiful way to start to work with the nervous system, clear brain fog, and start to go down into the heart while shutting off the mind. Another little tip with breath work that I love, especially if you have a hard time just sitting down and finding stillness within meditation, which is, by the way, completely normal, especially in the ways that our brain works nowadays after social media. The brain waves are moving at a much quicker pace. Say if you were to go back in time 100 years ago, we need breath work in order to sit in meditation a lot of the times, especially if you're just starting your practice. So breath work, you can think about it as like a crutch for your meditation. It allows you to sink into meditation with more ease. Another tip with meditation, and this is going to be your second practice, and I know that when you're just starting out, it's really nice to find a guided meditation, but eventually I want you to move into a space where you're actually sitting within meditation in complete silence. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about this, especially if you've never done this before. When you are regulating your nervous system and when you're especially out of whack within it, I want you to notice how it feels to sit in complete silence with nothing to distract you and just sitting with yourself. You're most likely going to feel either A, super uncomfortable, or B, extremely bored. You might notice your thoughts might go into all sorts of different places. The more you show up and set your timer of 5 minutes for silence and just sitting with yourself, you will notice over a period of time that your body goes from a space of, oh my God, when is the timer about to go up, to actually loving and craving it. But again, I would say it takes about 21 days of consistently showing up 5 minutes every single day at the same time in the same place for your body to switch into a state where it actually starts to get fueled by the silence and your nervous system starts to sink into regulation. Here's another practice that bleeds into meditation in silence is when you're driving in your car, I also want you to practice silence. When you're at a stoplight, instead of reaching for your phone and checking your phone, notice that urge to go for the phone and instead sit and start to notice things that are going on around you. Maybe looking at a tree on the sidewalk or noticing all the different types of cars that are around you. Instead of being in this state of constantly, our attention span is searching for something to stimulate us, but being in the mundane and the presence automatically starts to regulate the nervous system. You're going to find a lot more peace throughout your day, and again, presence. Another practice that I want you to start to bring into awareness around your life is, what are you consuming on a day-to-day basis? And no, I'm not necessarily talking about what you're putting into your mouth, but what are you listening to and what are you watching? For example, when we're on the couch at the end of a long day, then the best thing that sometimes we look forward to is being able to kick off our shoes and relax and let our mind quiet. So you might find yourself turning on your favorite Netflix show. But I want you to be aware of what it is that you are watching when you're in a relaxed state. And here's why. Our brainwaves are actually starting to slow down. When our brainwaves are slowing down, we're peeling back the layer of the analytical and the logical mind, that fight or flight state that sometimes we can go into. And once it's peeled back, our subconscious layers are actually more influential. They're more susceptible to what we're consuming. 95% of our daily thoughts and actions are actually ran by the subconscious mind. Why this is important is because if you are, for example, watching murder mystery shows every single night before bed, your subconscious is actually being programmed into a state of A, maybe fear, or B, looking for constant threat. I want you to pay attention to how you're feeling after you absorb certain content. If you're feeling more in an anxious state, it's definitely not serving your nervous system. You're probably going into a space of, again, being fearful or looking for a threat throughout your day. So start practicing bringing things into your world that actually uplift you, that give you hope, and that put you into a state of calmness and an abundance and ultimately gratitude. And the truth is, consuming constant content that is putting you into high stress and anxiety is freaking exhausting. How are you supposed to have energy for anything else if you're always in a state of fear? Fear is paralyzing, and fear actually represents false evidence appearing real. So the goal is to actually bring things into your life that bring you into a higher state versus dimming you and making you feel small. Now, in the last point, I was talking about things that you may be consuming here and here, but now I'm going to actually talk about things that you are consuming here. What are you eating? This plays such a huge role in nervous system. Mental health and physical health go hand in hand. If you're not feeding your mental health in a positive way, it's going to impact your physical health. If you're not feeding your physical health in a nourishing way, it's going to impact your mental health. The goal is to keep your blood sugar at a balanced level throughout the day. I want you to quit the caffeine before you eat anything in the morning. Caffeine is such a big component in spiking insulin levels and spiking anxiety, especially in an empty stomach. So nourishing your body first thing in the morning with a big cup of maybe lemon water or kombucha, putting a high protein meal into your body first thing, then enjoying your caffeine afterwards. And having at least 3 consistent meals throughout your day is going to help nourish the nervous system, as well as keep your thoughts clear, because you're not constantly in these highs and lows. So paying attention to your body's always signaling to you. It's always letting you know when it is in need of nourishment in some shape or form. So being super in conversation and noticing the information that your body's always giving you. And the meditation and breath work is really going to allow you to build that relationship with being aware of what it's trying to tell you throughout your day. We're always trying to strive to become better versions of ourselves, and we can absorb all of this self-help information, but what it really comes down to is implementing what you're learning and creating a solid and calm foundation from where you can take action. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and we will see you in the next one. Like and subscribe. Thuggy thug thug.
All right.
You gotta insert that message.
Make sure to
Pause this.